Well, to talk more about the wider consequences of the scandal for VW, I'm joined now by an expert from the German Institute for Automotive Research and Communication, the IFA. Andreas Bremer, thank you so much for joining us. What I'd like to ask you first is to tell us a little bit about what this software actually did. Could you briefly explain it to us?
Well, from what we know at this point, and this is probably not everything, it manipulates the engine management while it detects that it is running in a test cycle other than being out on the road on a normal drive. So the software can differentiate between the two situations and adjusts motor management to produce better emission data.
Well, the question that's on my mind all the time is how could a world-class car maker like VW actually believe that something like this would go undetected? Did their engineers really think that no one would notice?
I agree. I just can't believe it. I have to think it was an act of desperation because they needed to get these emission standards to get their cars out on the market in the US, get the license to sell them. And maybe they figured that with their current technology, they weren't able to meet the standards required, and maybe they were just buying time. I cannot imagine that they actually thought they were going to get away with that in the long run.
But why the desperation? Are the standards in the United States so much more rigorous than in Europe?
They are currently, yes. In fact, it's about half, when you talk about emission standards, we're talking about half the level that we have in Europe currently, or in Germany currently.
Well, VW has now admitted that as many as 11 million cars worldwide are going to be affected. And what does this mean for its bottom line?
Well, it's obviously going to hurt them financially quite a bit. I mean, we're not talking about only talking about the fines. We're talking about the loss of reputation. Customers, especially in the US, are going to hesitate buying a VW because they don't know if they can keep its value. I mean, all those that have bought a diesel and VW at this point are probably looking for a lawyer. So lawyers are going to have a field day in the US. But yes, the VW is hurting. They will hurt for a long time. But the only chance they have is be frank, be open, put everything out there, and hope for forgiveness.
Well, their first step was to pull 500,000 cars, to recall 500,000 cars, to stop all sales of the affected diesel models. But what about other car makers? I mean, can we imagine that if VW was doing it, are we going to hear about other car makers trying the same kind of deception?
Can we imagine it? Well, sure, you can imagine everything you want, but we have to see this. VW used a certain technology in these engines that, like BMW and Mercedes, do not use. So I don't think we're going to see the same thing. But definitely all diesel engines are going to be under a lot of scrutiny right now, especially in the US, but hopefully everywhere.
Andreas Bremer, thank you so much for talking to us on Made in Germany.
Thank you.